What if we told you that the real estate company Zillow has shrunk its office space and ended up with a workforce that's more connected than ever? We hear about companies urging employees back into the office 5 days a week, but 4 major companies have a different strategy. They're being intentional about when they bring people together. These companies have found their approaches more effective than mandates in boosting productivity. Here are the 4 strategies they're using.
There are a lot of companies that have found ways to get people back together, that have done a return to office that doesn't involve a mandate. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what some of those different patterns look like. One of the things that's actually really helpful, especially in an age where a lot of teams are distributed across cities and locations, is getting those teams together on a regular basis. Zillow has done a great job of orchestrating regular team gatherings. They actually shrunk their office space, redesigned it to be fit for collaboration, for getting teams together on a regular basis. And then they funded 2 things. They funded the travel to bring together distributed teams, and they funded a small team that helps orchestrate these events. So literally hundreds of events on an annual basis where there's a team centrally that helps orchestrate things like the calendar, so that teams that are adjacent to one another in terms of the work that they do might bump into each other over the course of the time they're together. But also that helps leaders do something that I find a lot of them really struggle with, which is, yeah, I'd love to bring people together on a quarterly basis to go through the quarterly plan, but oh my gosh, you're telling me to do a team building activity. So helping leaders be able to do that is also an important factor. Zillow has these consistent rhythms that they've put in place where, for example, their product engineering and marketing teams get together at least 3 or 4 times a year. Their shared services teams, the HR and IT folks, come together across the United States and even across the globe on a basis of a couple times a year to rebuild connection and to go deeper on the work. Those kinds of events have spurred engagement with those teams and drive real business value. A second big thing that happens is often your work isn't done within a functional group. It's done across functions, right, in projects. So much of knowledge work these days is done in project teams. It's really important to find ways to get them together. That can be done through things like major milestones that have to do with the project itself. Airbnb is a great case in point here. They have a 6-month launch process that they go through. So twice a year, there's a big major launch that happens. And one of the things that they've done is they've orchestrated bringing those teams together. All the people that are working on it come into San Francisco for a kickoff. And then they come together once a month after that for major milestone reviews. They've taken that rhythm of their business and turned it into something that's actually really special. There's a group of people coming together for a purpose. They've also layered on top of that, all the executives come into San Francisco the same week. And about 60% of their employee base happens to work in the Bay Area. That office becomes packed. Once a month for about 3 days, everybody's seeing each other and reconnecting. So it serves a business purpose that has to do with those major projects, but it's also an opportunity to rekindle those connections that feel really special when you only run into those folks once a month, as opposed to if you're doing it 5 days a week, it starts to feel a bit like drudgery. Because teams are distributed, one of the other challenges that I've seen in a lot of organizations is how do I build connections with people on a local basis where we may not even have an office in the first place? I've seen this done really effectively at places like Allstate, which actually has put in place a program with a flexible office provider where they've got 25 locations now across the US, where if you need an office to do work, you can come in and use it. But the majority of the usage of that is small team events. It's bringing people together on a regular basis. PagerDuty augmented this with a executive travel layer that they put on top of it. So as executives went to different cities across the US, for example, Austin, Texas, they would actually host a local market event, bringing together people who might be in that market, 30 or 50 of them, where there's not a regular standing office, but there's an opportunity to reconnect with one another and build those sort of local connections that actually can result in social engagement among each other, as well as sort of a deeper connection back to the company itself. Last but not least, one of the challenges with a return to office mandate is it can often feel like I'm going back into an office that hasn't really changed since 2019 and doesn't really fit the needs that people have today. I'm going into a space that's primarily open office floor plans where I can't find a meeting room for my team, or I'm trying to do calls all day long, and it's just not really working very well. Dolby took the opposite approach. They redesigned their offices to be fit for purpose. Because if you think about what they do, they actually work with a lot of acoustic gear and equipment. They have a lot of sort of lab-like spaces, but they also need places for teams to come together now that want to work together on projects. So their office redesign was really about how do we make sure that we rethink the purpose of the office and move it away from being focused on individual productivity and much more focused on collaboration. Having that kind of space that people can come into is a big magnet for teams that want to come together. And it also means that you're actually going to get what you want out of it in the first place, which is higher collaboration and connection among teammates.
Companies don't have to mandate where or when people work to increase productivity. Instead, they can look for genuine reasons for people to choose to come together. Regular team gatherings and project milestones are the right moments. Building relationships within redesigned spaces are the right things to focus on. These companies invested in connection, not control. Which of these 4 approaches could work at your company? Let us know in the comments. We're especially curious if you tried something similar and what happened. For more information from Brian Elliott on RTO mandates, check out this video. And thanks for watching.